How does one start to understand the value of his sacrifice in life? All the accolades and the awards? No. All the money and the fame? No. It's through all the suffering and pain to make his voice heard. It's from others' love and support which gives him strength beyond measure. It's his action that plants seeds, which bears fruit, which in turn makes a difference in the lives of others. Now what do these roots have in common? The Spencer Haywood Rule.
Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good night. I have a wonderful, wonderful guest with me today, my hero. Yeah, Chuck D. Chuck D, thank you for joining me on this great day. I mean, we were talking off camera about a lot of things, but boy, I sure want to have it on camera. And I'm looking at your background with all of the books and
DVDs that way, books that way.
Yeah.
But stop, your hero, my hero for a very long time. We go back in my family to the 60s, honoring and saluting all of your prowess and your stance and your perseverance, most of all, too.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, tell me your book, The History of Hip Hop. Tell us a little bit about that book.
The history of hip hop was born out of the radio show that I've been doing for 13 years, which works like 60 Minutes does with news. It's a sum of all parts. A lot of contributors add up to 2 hours. It's called And You Don't Stop. And I, years ago, started an inter-network called Rap Station, where it has 10 station channels, and the flagship show is And You Don't Stop. And we get very thorough and concise about what hip hop is and what hip hop ain't. And we nail it. And we pretty much nail the facts. So that was a segment that we had that actually, just was a segment every week. It's really every day that told a factoid about rap music and hip hop. Because there's a lot of mythology out there, as you well know. And what we want to do is like the facts clarify. And when you back up the facts with something that's evident and people could see and align to, they stop spreading that mythology. Like the barbershop is cool, but also the barbershop got a lot of yeast popping off in it too. So these are facts. And we took what used to be a radio thing. And since these brothers up from Montreal, big up to Mount Real, Duke Eatman and Ron Maskell, they had years and years of scripts for their radio part. And I said, well, why don't we make a book out of it? Wow. So that's how that came to be. I just curated it.
Well, for my audience, can you tell me when did it start? When did hip hop start? When did rap start? Because I have some other ideas of when it started. Back with Lou Rawls, back in way back in those days with jazz cats, and so.
I think well, let's get to the fact. Rap music and hip hop are two different things. Hip hop is the definition of the culture of the disenfranchised, meaning black folks. And like tracing your family line, our family line, if you trace it back 100 years, we couldn't just talk. We had to come up with code. We had to come up and express ourselves through different type of ways. So we expressed ourselves through hymns, music, maybe even chants while we were working. So we expressed ourselves. This area of creativity has always been black folk. The term of creativity since about 1973 would be hip hop. It happens to be in voice, music, execution, dance, artwork. Those are the elements of hip hop. MCing, DJing, graffiti, breakdancing. That's the creativity. Rap music is not a rap. Rap music is not a music. It's a vocal on top of music. So the thing about it, it's like you got talking, you got singing, rap is in between. And Gil Scott-Heron is in the middle. He's on the beat. James Brown is in the middle of rapping. And he could sing. Also, he could just talk. And he could also do the thing in the middle. There's only 3 vocal applications you can do. Talking, singing, and something in between. And that's where the rap is, because of a little bit of both. It could go this way or that way. And saying that rap would disappear, and I know you've been hearing that throughout, what's this rap would go away? That's as ludicrous as saying, I wonder when these singing records are going to stop. So rap is on top of the music. The music's already been defined, be it jazz, be it blues, be it rhythm and blues, which is soul. So whenever you put a vocal on top of music, it's called the process of overdubbing.
Okay.
That's why in Jamaica they had dub plates, because dub plates are instrumental.
Yeah.
So the DJs could talk on top of it. So just think an Americanized version with the founders of hip hop in the hip hop way, the DJs, Africa Bambaataa, Kool Herc, Grandmaster Flash. You talk on top of the instrumentals, or you make an instrumental, and that's the same process of overdubbing. Just like if you go into any radio place and they got back in the day, you would have a Frankie Crocker do his style.
Frankie, my man Frankie.
Right, he'll do his style on top of the instrumental, and you can hear him and the instrumental underneath him. But I would say this: if somebody had to pick the first rap record, I think the undisputed first rap record as we know it, meaning the rhythm, meaning the 4/4 beats as we know it, would be Pig Meek Markham, Here Come the Judge.
Here Come the Judge.
Yep.
Pig Meek Markham. Yeah.
Hear ye, the court is swinging. I'm just about ready to do my thing. I don't want no tricks, no alibis, And I'll tell you another tripped out fact is that on that record, Minnie Riperton is on it.
Oh, wow. Because they were doing a lot of the shows back then out of the Regal Theater in Chicago. And she was with, and back then she was with Rotary Connection.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Check this record.
Okay.
So really the first hip hop, the first rap record, undisputably could be 1968, produced by my good friend and a godfather mentor of mine, Gene Barge. He produced it. Morris Jennings on the drum, Minnie Riperton's in the middle. So I take 2 orders of beer, please. She's the voice in the middle of that. And comedians had rap always in their vernacular.
Yeah, they said Morris Jennings. Morris Jennings was the drummer for Ramsey Lewis.
Exactly.
Yes.
He passed away some years ago, and he's another uncle of mine. And Gina Barge, my good friend, who's the daughter of Gene Barge, introduced me to all the chess guys.
Wow.
Louis Satterfield, who also was the influence for Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
Pete Cozy, who also played with Miles.
Played the guitar with Miles, yes.
So all this is interlocked. And so although I have the tag of rap music, what we are, music collectors, music lovers, and aficionados, especially of Black music, and all the names that contributed to Black music that are obscured and passed over, and we refuse to let that happen.
Yeah, I remember Pete Cosley and Miles Davis, Mtume. All of those guys came to my home and stayed with me in Seattle. We were putting on a jazz concert for Miles at the Paramount Northwest in Seattle.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a very...
And Mtume was back then. I don't want to eat any meat, so you got to make sure that I have a vegetarian dish. And I had this Cadillac that I had pimped out like Superfly.
You had theme music with it? Like,
I had the Cadillac pimped out like Superfly, and Michael Henderson loved that car. Between him and Kareem, those were the 2 people that loved that car. I hated that car.
Really?
I hated it. Because what happened was when I was in Seattle, I would get stopped by the police, and they would like just search my car and make it seem as if I was a drug dealer. And the car looked like a Superfly.
Wow. Did they make you get
Charlie
out?
Scott, once we got into the league, we said, man, we want to get us a caddy. We want to freak it out. And nothing but trouble.
I'm going to ask you as many questions as you're going to ask me. This tape's going to be rolling. I mean,
Yes.
tape, whatever, your digital. I'm representing the Knick Fan TV. Young cat over there runs the growing Knick Legion of podcasters, and his name
Yes.
is up to CP the franchise, and we got a saying: once a Knick, always a Knick.
Always a Knick. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be asking you as many questions too, man. But big up.
How did you become a Knick fan? What happened? How did you just from Long Island because you had the Nets?
My mother, and father from 151st Street in Harlem.
Okay.
My dad, Knick fan since the 50s. So I first became aware of my dad following the Knicks in 67, 68.
Wow.
And that's how long I've been a Knick fan. So I was telling you this the other week. I said the day you got traded to the Knicks, I hung it on my bedroom wall. It was up there for years until the wall came down. So I wish I had a picture of it, man. But I drew you. Matter of fact, I think I sent you part of your documentary, my artwork I did at that time.
Yes, it was beautiful.
And I did a piece of artwork on your hands.
Yeah.
So I called it the Hands of Haywood. So you're a very significant part of my life, especially when you became a Knick. I was like, whoa, this is heaven, man.
Yeah, they brought me in. That was a big trade. That was a big deal back then. They brought me in to replace.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they brought me in to replace Dave DeBusschere, Jerry Lucas, and Willis Reed. They all had retired, and I was like, and so I was there with Phil Jackson and Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley was writing his memoirs. And I'm rooming with him, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm just starting, man. And the same thing with Phil. Phil was sitting under Red Hosman trying to learn how to coach. He was learning all of the tricks of the trade. And it was a very interesting time. And boy, I mean, playing with Earl Monroe because he had hurt his foot. And so we would always walk around and talk about, hey, man, you need to see Miss Rudolph because Richard Pryor had the album out about, you gotta see Miss Rudolph and put your foot in this piss. So, and the monkey come out and yitty. So
I know he got tired of hearing that, right? He got tired of hearing that.
Yeah, he did. And so Walt Frazier and I would be in there stretching, and then I stood on my head, and one of the photographers like, that's why we're losing.
I got that shot.
That's what I'm saying. I'm standing on my head in a yoga pose, and the press got it and said, that's why we're losing. Haywood is standing on his head.
Well, see, they ain't got nothing else to say. They be doing, especially now. I know. Like now, I mean, tell me, man, it's like, all right, the game is an hour and change, right? It's a game. All right, we love the game.
Yeah.
But I've never seen a time where you need like 500 analysts for one game, man. It's like, I mean, to me in football, it got crazy when you see like one football game, but how many analysts do you need, man?
Yeah.
You get to a point where you start making up stories.
Yeah, I know, but that's the marketing. That's the era we live in, I wonder why another Knick player can't get a job, and that's Mark Jackson. I can't figure this out. I know he said some things, but this was years ago, and I was talking with another friend about the Knicks and about Mark Jackson. I often thought that he would have been a great coach for the Knicks or anybody.
Every time the Knicks make a pick that makes sense, like drafting him, it made sense. It would make sense that you never trade Patrick Ewing and that you at least give him a front office job. It would have made sense to make one Mark Jackson or Patrick Ewing a coach after being assistant coaches. Well, yes. Patrick Ewing was an assistant coach for about 500 years.
500 years.
It's like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, man. It's like, how long does a cat have to do assistant coaching before they get a coach? Or they just tossing jobs around to a select few. Me, I don't care. I can attack the NBA because I ain't got no skin in the game. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, I do a job with them. It's a job, you know, but and we got enough of a problem with rap music and hip hop and cats, you know, ODing and killing and talking about it and stuff like that. So I don't have a lot of nerve to be talking about what is organized and what
Yeah.
seems to always at least attempt to do the right thing. So, but sometimes you do scratch your head and say, well, damn, this is, you know, this makes so much sense. And I don't use
Yeah.
the word blackball. I use whiteball.
White
Because white
ball. Yeah.
ball, yeah, white
I've
ball.
been a victim of white ball.
Yeah, I use white ball and put somebody back on their heels. And why you got to talk about race?
Yeah. Hey, let me step over to hip hop again, or to hip. So am I saying it properly? Hip hop or rap or
Unc, you can
just say
call it
hip
what
hop?
you want. You can call it
Yeah.
what you want. So hip hop, rap is a part of it. You know, it's
Yeah.
just, it's all good.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Kendrick
And
Lamar.
when you ask me the question about hip hop, trust me, I'll take it. Boom, untangle it, and hand it
Yes.
back to you like this. Da-da.
Yeah. Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
I saw. I've been listening to his music. He just came out with a new album.
Mhm.
He has been working with Cassimi Washington,
He
the
works with a lot of
saxophonist play.
works with a lot of young people and
Well, this is
OG.
a jazz cat
Yeah,
that he works with, the saxophonist.
it makes sense because
Yeah.
you know, a jazz cat is truly um foundational. They're rooted and they're
Hmm.
exploratory, and they're not
Yeah.
afraid to take chances and go somewhere. And that's what Kendrick Lamar takes in his vocal execution. And then he knows that the pressure is always on him to not do the lowest easy hanging fruit. So he has to strive to be great. And when you ask for that position, you got to come up and do
You got to come
something
up.
and not try to. It's a jazz cat goes out there and don't try to please. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
that's
Right.
what
Right.
jazz cats like. If you're not on my skill, if you ain't able to receive on the skill that I give, that I put my time in, you
Yeah.
could just reverse your ass and take your ass home because I ain't changing. And
I
you
ain't
got to
changing.
have a little bit of that, I think, in hip hop and rap music to further it to where it's long lasting. I think it's easy to pick low hanging fruit in anything, whether it's sports and say, oh, you just train yourself just to be a 3-point shooter. You don't dribble, you don't do nothing else. That's why you train yourself because you see the bag. Well, I think in hip hop, it's easy to just see the bag and talk about what is already in the air. But sometimes you have to be watchful because the things that's put in the air that you plucking down could add not only to your and your people's demise, but you'll never get a shot anyway. You might get
Yeah.
a shot, but you don't never get a shot.
Yeah.
So Kendrick Lamar is that other dude. He strives to take chances and to be great. And he know he's talking to a lot of ears that are open, but
Okay.
easy and just as quick to close. So he's on attack to always be great. So I dig that in him.
Who are some of the other young hip hoppers that you listen to at this time?
Well, I curate tens of thousands of tens of hundreds of songs on rap stations. So
Okay.
every month I put out a top 50. So you know, Consequence, Substantial. You know, you got people like and you know women like Amy True from the UK and Eugen Blackrock from South Africa. Women are
Okay.
30% of hip hop and rap music, but you gotta put in the international picture in rap music and hip hop. Whenever you just are USA'd or Americanized, you limit what rap music is doing anyway. Obviously, if it's been around 50 years,
Yes.
the world done caught up. When somebody goes and look at basketball and they wondering, scratching their head on Luca, don't you think the same thing happened in rap? Especially and you know, when when you internationally, cats is spitting 4 or 5 languages. So
Yes, of course.
rap is a linguistic boom, boom, boom. So I
Right.
know cats, man, who are super rappers, but people in the United States only know what they're fed. So they're not popping through the regular media because the media here, when it comes down to our culture, is traditionally lazy. So they
Ah,
not gonna, so if you in front of a cat and he's spitting 3 languages and like you battling or you going back and forth and he's spitting 3 language at you, you limited with the half English that you got here, saying the same words over and over, you're not winning if it's a competition. If you want attention, you're not winning unless you're doing something stupid. That's why I'm trying to limit people to saying, well, your performance has got to be on stage, on record, for the art's sake. Because off stage, if you this 98% of the time, that's a whole nother thing. We know criminal cats, man, who don't rap. You know what I'm saying? Those cats do the dirty for real and set out to do the dirty. So they need a different conversation. When you pretend to be that, understand the circumstances, people gonna go in based on your leadership, on your voice. But when you're facing it, bro, it's a sticky path. So we try to say, listen, be 100% honest with yourself.
okay.
You're owner to what you think. At least I go by this mantra. I'm an owner to what I think, and I'm a slave to what I say. So a lot of
Wow.
things of what I think, I'll be like, man, I ain't saying. I'm not saying. Oh, I want to hear what you guys say. OG, I want to. Nah, you don't want to hear what I got to say on that one. You figure out. Ask me for some advice.
What about some of the other hip hoppers like KRS-One? I love his stuff.
Those OGs.
Yeah.
I think the if rap and hip hop has had something that has beleaguered it, I think it's the destruction of the collectives.
Okay.
No more team ball, no more team game. It was a beauty when you have a team of producers and a team of MCs, a team of DJs all collaborate, and even performance was panoramic. Not everybody could be the top dude. You got the up front, just like when you look at any band in the rock world, everybody ain't on the one at the same time. Everybody they give each other space.
Yeah.
The record companies in the 90s, it behooved them that they take the one person, market that, get rid of the rest of the collective, because it made contracts easier to not only negotiate, but in our case, negotiate. So you got to watch the negotiations, and it's easy to satisfy one person and shave the rest, and just sell it as product. But what it makes for bad product when you come out and have to show and present it. Only the cream will rise to the top. I don't think hip hop and rap music per se is a one man or one woman's game.
Yeah.
I think it's a collective. Like when you look at Miles Davis, you're not looking at Miles Davis. You're looking at Miles Davis and whatever ensemble he put around him.
Right.
So he stand out. He's in the front, but James Brown and the JBs, George Clinton and Parliament, Funkadelic, Lionel Richie and the Commodores.
And
It's
the
like,
Commodores.
but when it's down to one person, when the quiet is kept, they still collab. They still collect. It just doesn't come out in the marketing presentation that this was a group effort,
Okay.
And a lot of artists today, they collab with they collab with each other. They collab in droves. So what we do at Rap Station, we clarify that. We say, oh yeah, this record right here features, this is A$AP Rock featuring Doc Ice, featuring Yasim Bey, you know what I'm saying? Featuring Rod Digger, and we bring out each individual and collect them into the force that made that record. Produced by, we really go into the credits of what a song and a presentation is, and say this is not an individual thing. And we know when it floats to the top, it becomes, oh yeah, this person's doing that. That person, Kanye and Stevie Wonder and all that. But I don't think that one person does it.
Yeah. Well, speaking of one person, what is your relationship with Flavor Flav, Terminator X, and Professor Griff?
Those are my brothers.
Those are your brothers. Yeah.
Those are my brothers. And being through thick and thin, we played 29 years in a row.
Wow.
116 countries, 116 tours. and there's no other joy like playing together when you're in sync. And I'm the leader of the particular situation, but I don't look at myself as being the person that always wanted to be out front. However, I have to be, for 29 years, I was the glue that everybody convened. And Flavor's number two. So, I mean, I'm at this state and age and state and time at 62. I like doing the one big event and then getting back to our home bases. But Flavor, it's like he's got to agree to that, and then everybody else will follow. I mean, he's like Mick Jagger, I'm Keith Richards, or vice versa.
Yes.
So maybe one day he'll come around. Does he have some issues with people in the band? Yeah, hopefully. I don't keep no issues, because me, it's easy. I pick up the mic, let it go.
Let it go.
I don't look at any differences, but you can't get in the middle of differences that people might have with each other. And I leave it alone. In the past, I would fix it. I don't fix it no more. So I told Flavor, I said, when you feel ready, if you want to get Mick Jagger paper and out there, and you want to wait for the right one, I'm down. I'm down. I like playing stadiums. Don't get me wrong. I like playing stadiums. I'm just not going to play 5 dates in a row and do the vans and wake up calls in the mornings and stuff like that, and be in like cold arenas and stuff like that. I think that was a good time and very memorable. And waking up in the bottom of a bunk and being stopped by East German police on your way to Berlin, all that is memorable. And our books and documentaries are for that. But I think on out, Minister Farrakhan once said to me in 1995, after we played the Houston Astrodome for Black Family Day, he said, listen, man, what's going to appear to be like fire is going to be ice, and what's going to appear to be like ice is going to be like fire. Your best bet, just build proteges. And ever since he said that, I've built Rap Station. I try to do things with labels. but it's all been on my own dime and stuff like that. So I've always been independent, which is a blessing and a curse, because most of the people that people hear about have a corporate partner. They have big corporations, and I don't admonish that, but that's why you need muscle and power behind going into the marketplace, trying to make artists bigger or make a scene bigger. So maybe I'll consider that in the next couple of years to find a corporate partner. But you have to have a respect for the art, but most of all, you got to have a respect for Black people. Because a lot of people say, I love hip hop. I said, well, you love Black people? And I'll be waiting for the next one. Be like, well, what's that got to do with it? Well, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah.
If you love what comes out of me more than
you can't love me.
It's the hell. I mean, that's what makes the world. That's what should make the world go round. That's what makes culture a wonderful thing. It unites us and the human spirit and our similarities, and knocks aside the differences. That's also what sports at its best does. Now, so all that differences are we are human beings. Governments like to split, divide. Same thing with they're the corporate state of mind, whether it's capitalist or even when they say it's like half-ass, socialism. But they like to cut up, divide, categorize, give you race. You're right. You're Black. You're white. You're that. That's what governments do. Governments like to put you in boxes, but culture makes your humanity breathe out a little bit if you can follow that. And same thing with sports. Beginning, you're supposed to come in as equal. You're not all born equal. Everybody got their different whatever they bring to the table. But at the end of it, it's like, you know what? I shared something with you, with win and loss, and with joy and pain. And this was a game, but it's a facsimile in a good way that how we should look at life. That, we got to live here together. Yeah. Why not enjoy the fruits of life while we got it?
Yeah, really. Tell me about the young cats that are out now. What's going on with all of the the guys are getting murdered.
Well, those are society issues that
Okay.
really seriously need a lot more than what records or entertainment industry. Yeah, it once upon a time it could be a message to a lot of ears that didn't hear it, but we talking 30 years ago. And that was like a band-aid or a call to help. But you're talking that was 1980s, that's 1990s, and the big differences between the 1980s and 90s and 2022, 23 is that you have a lot of people who were here back then who are gone today, and a lot of people who have been born since. So this is why you have to look at ways to diffuse or destroy systemic racism because it stays around like stink in your clothes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the stink in your clothes carries over even if the body is gone. So it's always a continual work in progress. But if somebody keeps like putting skunks in the room,
But you hit on it earlier.
Excuse me?
Yeah, you hit on it earlier about guys singing and rapping about a lifestyle that they don't know anything about or living. And so somebody in the street say, well, hey, you're talking about popping off somebody. Let me pop you off. So because I see a lot of death lately, and I'm trying to understand it as a father, as and as a person who is now transforming myself over to the hip hop world.
Right.
I'm trying to understand it. What goes with that?
Well, discrimination, hate, prejudice, bias over a long period of time, disenfranchisement, lack of opportunity, or lack of really, there's not so much the lack of opportunities, but the lack of the connection to recognize things that are there that they might not be able to see, but need that communication to see those things. That adds up to a snowball of mental illness.
Yeah.
Put some other things that were unprecedented in our lifetime, like a pandemic. Oh yeah, y'all stay in the house for like a year. Trust these electronics to be your only way out. And the same thing that you look to the electronics, you're gonna probably get from the electronics that even might make you feel less than what you think that you are. So you're gonna live all this and you're gonna dance all these things in your mind, and then we're gonna let everybody go. It's like what we experiencing now, the level of mental illness in this country. I've never seen the level of mental illness in this country the way it is right now across my 62 years, because there's other factors that have come in. I think was the saving grace for USAers. And the reason I don't say Americans, because it's audacious to say that the only Americans are here in the lower 48 United States of America. Meaning that you totally disregard Central Americans. Many of them are here as workers that you kind of disregard that. The Caribbean, Canada, and South America. They're all Americans.
They're all Americans.
When the minute that we get off saying, oh yeah, we Americans and stuff like that, I try to tell a person in the United States, I said, listen, when you say you disenfranchise yourself, you got this arrogance going on because you totally disregard the diaspora. You say stupid shit like, oh, they over there overseas. Like, over what seas? They overseas over there. Oh, I ain't been to Africa, so they don't care nothing about us. And
I'm not an African.
So you come up with this African rhetoric of this hate that you don't even know, and you sound just like the typical USAer that's out there spewing the stuff against you. And here I tell you, how I get them in shape. I say, listen, first of all, especially if I'm anywhere else except for New York, I say, yo, when a New Yorker walks in the room, right? They're like, yeah, they full of that New York shit. They wear New York on their head. They wear New York. They're going around. I'm from New York, country ass boy. Just that New York thing. I said, you know how that feels, right? Because you like, yo, man, lower that New York shit issue on me, man. We all here, right? I said, that's the way the rest of the world feels when you start wearing that United States of America, you a black face.
Yeah.
Because we are a black planet. The planet is already a planet of color. It's not
Yes.
pure whiteness running anything. It's the mind that they say, like, this is pure and everybody else is contaminated with color. It's really the other way around. But we ain't bragging about our melanin. We just like saying, instead of you thinking we're the worst in the world, that really seriously, we got staying power with this. We can't help it. It's who we are.
Yeah.
But when we get into this Americanized state of mind, they call it radicalized. No, it's not radicalized what's going on with these shootings. It's being Americanized.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we like,
speaking of a shooting, Buffalo. Yeah.
and matter of fact, it crept up into the news. It wasn't like, bam, oh, this is going to, like,
Yeah.
the country is suffering through mental illness because it's stuck on America. It's stuck on this Americanism. That's why the mental illness is festering. For people of color, I said, you got to get out of this hot box mentally. That there's people in the world they've gotten through diseases, they've gotten through poverty that we've never seen here. They figure out how to climb into life as a collective, even though they got all the tools and all the toys is going on, but they figure it out. If you can't figure it out, you got a gadget who's a supercomputer on your hip. Expand yourself to the rest of the world. You might get a quicker answer. You might even get a quicker answer from damn Winnipeg and Toronto than you might get out of Detroit and Chicago or Evansville. So, so the point I'm saying is that the music, when it goes outside the box a little bit, when it reaches into the past, because the internet is made, or cyberspace, or what Zuckerberg says is the metaverse, right? It past, present, and future is the same line now. It's no, that's back in the day, and that's the future, and we live in now. People live in the past, present, and future at the same time, and it's on the screen. You know what people call today, whether they're young or old? You're screen ages.
Well, speaking of mental health, I came out years ago with my issues with substance abuse, but what helped me to get through that whole process is that I got acquainted with a psychologist, and I was able to deal with my mental health and my mental issues now for all of these years. And I was just talking with my young daughter, Shakira, who is a doctor, she has her own private practice, and she works with the NBA Players Association on mental health. She's a psychologist. Unbelievable that we have not touched upon that as Black people and as all people. Other people who go seek help, but we as Black people, we don't seem to latch on to that. We latch on to all of the other bad influences, but we never look at, wait a minute, let me check my mental health, because I want to make sure that I got my wellness in check, because mental wellness is the wellness that you need. Speak on that in terms of like hip hop. I mean, because I've seen guys who I think should get some help, but I don't know.
All I know is that you're a wonderful example, of perseverance, and the fact that you're here and you have such a storied everything behind you, and you persevere to be stronger than anything many of us now is a testament to mental and physical wellness. I mean, when people look at your story and hear all the great things that you're doing now, and then the fight for so many others who have struggled, and fight for them too, that should be revered and honored, and that's where a lot of our attention and focus should be, for those that have persevered and are able to point to people who are professional in areas and say, "Go, this person right there, they know. Listen, don't get into this. You mentally, you think that you could challenge a doctor. which is the craziest shit I've ever heard. And so many people out there, like the other day, like somebody got on online. You can't go to online. You can't go online or social media and come out of there thinking that you can pull something from it, from looking at a debate with a person that hasn't known anything, hasn't experienced anything, chatting against a person who's not only experienced but well endowed in that subject. Like arguing online with Kevin Durant is stupid when we talk about basketball. That's about as dumb as saying I'm going to argue with a world surgeon about cutting on people.
About cutting on people. You know?
It's the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, I don't think the vax is doing this and all that. It's, you cannot freestyle knowledge. There's pain in knowledge because you got to take the time to process. People that say they read books, I say, you reading a book or you thumbing through a book? It's one thing to thumb through the book, get the captions, get, underline some stuff. When you read a book and digest it and then process it in the doing of being something, it's like eating fish where you eat the fish, but you toss the bones away because you don't know what to do with the bones anyway. Some people, right? I know what to do with the bones, but you don't. So you got to go in when you got to read. The most important thing about reading is comprehension. And I'm telling you, there's some books out there that I would have to read 8 times before I get it. So you got to go to a person that's able to say, oh yeah, this is what that book is saying. Yeah, I'm good at that. And I say, well, I ain't good at that. I thought I read that book. I thought we read the same book. So yeah, we read the same book, but I comprehended it and you didn't. So when we get in these online or offline conversations with people who have PhDs in their subject without, of course, official PhDs, I'm like, man, don't get in an argument with that street cat. That cat got a PhD in thuggery. Don't get in the middle of that, man. That cat does that. Matter of fact, he might not be looking at his lifeline like you look at your lifeline. He might say, you know what, I'm doing a one and done, man. I'm gonna be like, but this is what I do. Don't get in the middle of that mix. That cat knows what they're doing in that thing. But online, I guess you could put an avatar and you could act like you anybody and anything.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying, long story short, the gun fair. It's a different thing when somebody gets in a fight back in the day when they end up being in 1961. Like, I fought that dude, man. I knocked him out. I got knocked on my ass. But we good today. You know what I'm saying?
Good people today.
When the guns and the drugs were poured into black communities in the late 70s and the mid 70s in New York and LA specifically, the gamers knew how they was going to game the community. The gamers knew that the powers that be knew how they was going to game it. We're going to come in there nice and we're going to hit ends heavy and we're going to wipe out the 80s. And just some people going to come through it, but most ain't.
Some people
we're going to get it poured in. So these things didn't come from us. They like, we're going to pour guns and we're going to pour drugs in there and just split them all apart. We rebounded as a people from that. You had the Dr. King symbolic murder in 68, and then you had the wiping us out during R&B, and R&B is Reagan and Bush. And that whole period wiped us out to the point that new seeds had to grow, but they grew separate. They grew separately, and individually you only can go up with so much. These are not our faults. They were bestowed upon us, man. They separated the news of the great OGs and the young people. So where the young people keep looking at young people for leadership. That's the craziest shit ever. Hey, in other countries, the OGs sit there, they're 85 years old, and everybody be like, okay, now we're gonna see what we could do with this. So the diaspora could save us when we pay attention to it.
Yeah. I was just sent this information by Terrell Harris, Tobias Harris' father.
Ah, yeah.
So he was looking at the top 20 NBA players that are under the Spencer Haywood Rule, and the league is not going to and the NBA and the Players Association seem like they just do not want to put my name on my ruling. They will put anything else on it. They call it the hardship. Then they call it what's the next one? Well, anyway, all the way up to one and done, and they never say it's the Spencer Haywood Rule. So he was showing me the salaries. All right, here we go with the top 20 salaries. Steph Curry is making 45 million, in fact, basically 46 million a year. John Wall is knocking out 45 million a year.
When was last time
Russell
John Wall
Westbrook
played?
is 44 million a year. And the
It
list
gotta
just
be a
go
wonderful
on and on.
It gotta be a
And they
wonderful
have
thing.
no idea who I am and what I did in terms of fighting this case all the way to the Supreme Court so they could come in early and make this kind of money. Deep, man.
I think it's fear of too much information for the ticket holder. And I don't think, I think as radical as Adam Silver started,
Yes.
eventually the powers that be, it's still the old boys network, and they're gonna corral you into being really conservative
Yeah.
because it has something to do with the wealth of the audience paying their high ticket prices and not being bothered with all that. Listen, we're trying to go forward. We're trying to go into
Yeah.
2025, man. We can't be talking about 68. But they don't sell no jerseys then. Don't do those throwback jerseys. Don't throw no tributes and all that, man. Just go forward, And this is why I felt that they try to throw game at Ice Cube's big three, because Ice Cube took players that were already marketed by the NBA that the NBA said, well, we can't do nothing with them. We ain't gonna hire them. Or they could be a coach in the G League for this much, whatever. And Cube and his business partner said, we're gonna take these names have been spent on and marketed, and the NBA will continue to do that. So I just think that they get in a quagmire of saying we got to watch how we brand things because it could spin away from us, and we need to control the narrative. And the narrative in the NBA, as far as a fan point of view, from the outside looking in, was try to reduce as much footage of any NBA before 1990.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's like before 1990. You see it. That's why I posted on my Twitter, and you was playing with the Washington Bullets. That incredible when they were all the announcers. UB Brown was still announcing today.
Yes, exactly.
And Brent Musburg, all these guys was like Spencer Haywood with the Washington Bullets. We thought it was over and done, and he is taking it to the Celtics and Larry Bird. And I posted and showed, you doing the quote unquote Eurostep.
Right. Because I had just came back from playing in Venice because of the Lakers, and they are doing this series right now, winning time. But what happened was the players and the owners and the NBA executives said, you can't stay in America. We want to send you to Venice, Italy. And I played there for that year, and I came back to the Washington Wizards. So I'm doing a Eurostep, and everybody's trying to figure out what the heck is he doing? And the referee couldn't call it because they were like, it looks so good. It looks so beautiful. We can't call this. And so the young players were looking at my footage that you posted and that I have posted. That was my last year in basketball. They were like, whoa, this guy could play in our era. I was like, yeah, I was way ahead of the game. Because I was 19 when I came into the league and was the MVP. But the game caught up. Yeah.
You got one of those Forrest Gump stories.
I got a Forrest Gump story.
You got a Forrest Gump story. Yeah, look, Detroit, Pershing, Your coach at Detroit, the high school coach, one of the greatest of all
Will
time.
Robinson, the first black coach to coach in NCAA Division I history.
Junior college,
Yeah.
Olympics with John Carlos and Tommy
John
Smith,
Carlos,
and
Tommy Smith. Yeah.
ABA MVP.
ABA, when the ABA was shutting down, they were saying, we need a gimmick to attract the players. And they signed this 19-year-old out of college. And all of a sudden, Julius Erving, George Gervin, Moses Malone, George McGinnis, which was this bad dude.
George McGinnis is one of my favorites, man. They don't talk about George McGinnis enough, man.
They don't
But,
talk about the big George. But
man, we
all
talked
of
about
those guys came in. George McGinnis. Yeah, George McGinnis. My gosh. Yeah.
Yo, man, those all you guys, man. It's like, listen, man. People like talk today like, oh man, you just a fanboy. You damn right, I'm a fanboy. It's help, and let me tell you, I'm a son from, to me, the greatest father in the world. My dad was just unbelievable, right? You and him share the same birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Wow.
April 22nd. But yeah, man. But he said, you know what? It's admirable that you look at, especially other black men that are trying to make it. And you always give that salute and props, and that's good. I'm your dad, and I know I'm at the top of the pile. I say, yeah, everybody else is way down as far as second and third, but you give props where props due. And of course our mothers and our sisters and wives and all that and daughters. But he would be first to say, man, whenever you see a black man, a black father out there, you give him some props, man, because
some props.
Black men don't get enough of that, and it's hard as hell. And a little bit from areas they least expect will be good karma. So, but yeah, Winning Time, my favorite show. And you know what? I don't, I look at any movie or any biopic in a different way, man. I ain't taking none of it all home. Oh, I believe all this. I'm a reader.
Yes, of course.
I'm a talker to people. So to me, it locked in as entertainment on some things that I kind of read about and knew, and it was entertaining to me, and it showed character. It showed a lot of different things, and I don't get into the whole thing of I understand why somebody say, "Oh man, that ain't me," but that's movies, man. That's Hollywood.
That's movie.
That's movie.
I didn't.
When they make things about me, I'll be like, you know what? That ain't me. Yeah, but cool.
Look, I didn't say it ain't me. I said it is me.
Right.
It was me 42 years ago, and look where I am today.
Stronger than ever.
Stronger than ever. Going back to one other thing, we was talking about George McGinnis, Julius Erving, and Iceman, and all of those guys from the ABA who transformed and went into the NBA and changed the game there as well. But what Ice Cube has done with the Big Three, he has brought all of those guys, those Hall of Famers, back as coaches.
Yes, and I think he made Doc, and Doc is our basketball hero because I'm from the same hometown, Roosevelt, Long Island. Mm-hmm. And when he made Dr. J like the commissioner, I mean, Ice Cube, his name and Dr. Dre, they named off of Dr. J and Ice Gervin. You know that?
Wow.
Yeah, that's where they got their nicknames. Because we had to look at black athletes as as our role models to at least name ourselves. So Dr. Dre, Dr. J, and Ice Cube off of George Gervin. I told that to Mr. Gervin, and he just started smiling like, "Oh man,"
man, another Detroiter, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Iceman, wow.
Yeah, but you brothers, man, were our energy, man. Like the 70s was kind of, was a battleground period for being able to see, damn, okay, that's a black person on TV. And I tell people all the time, especially these YouTube kids, new gens, I said, if you want to know how the United States of America was, watch a sporting event from 1990 on back.
Yes.
And you ain't seeing no black people advertising nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, except for OJ was flying through airports, and I mean, Bill Cosby, OJ and Bill Cosby, and you know what society did to them too. So,
Woo, Lordy. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So, I a lot of times when I see a lot of things out there, I know I write songs, I know I do artwork, but I'm an owner to what I think and a slave to what I say. And some things I'll be telling, say, you don't want to hear me tell you what I think. So let's try to figure out how we could go forward with this thing, make a great path, and try to do the kumbaya humanity. Because if I start telling you what I think, you better get some shields. Hey, I tell people, we can always do business, but I ain't gonna be hopscotching, reaching up for the lowest hanging fruit or whatever. I'm cool with my 2008 Acura until they tell you can't drive it no more because it's a fossil fuel burner.
Problem.
And they charge gas. Gas gonna be $11 a gallon. So now I can't keep my car for 30 years. I wear sneakers from 30 years ago because I just wash them and they durable.
Wash them and put them back on. You're good.
This whole
what was your brand of sneaker?
Excuse me?
What was your brand? Which one did you like most?
Run DMC said my Adidas, and when my Adidas made a limited sneaker deal with Run, I was like, so I wear anything.
Okay.
And the thing about it is, like, I always thought when rap in the 80s and 90s, they should have made sneaker deals for some rappers because Run DMC sold more Adidas than anybody on the damn planet.
More than any player.
And they didn't make they didn't make Run DMC no sneaker deal that was worth anything. They didn't give them no money. That's why when Nike had Michael Jordan, the guy that made Michael Jordan work, not court-wise, because I mean, Michael Jordan, incredible basketball player, but we always had incredible basketball players.
We always, but
what made Michael Jordan hip and kick over, other than the game?
Spike Lee.
Exactly. Spike Lee sold hip hop. Spike Lee took hip hop and attached it to Michael Jordan. Not only did Spike Lee take hip hop, Spike Lee attached Brooklyn hip hop to Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Boom. Put Brooklyn on Michael Jordan in 1986 is bananas. That's what happened. That's why Air Jordan became something, because the hipness of hip hop inadvertently to a dude that was public and saying, I don't really follow this hip hop shit. Yeah, but Mike,
exactly.
Hip hop got attached to you by Spike, dog, for real. Yeah. And just like Spike, if it wasn't for Fight the Power and Do the Right Thing, Public Enemy, we big, but putting out stuff with a movie.
Right, with a movie, man. Fight the Power. Fight the Power.
Spike would Fight the Power and Do the Right Thing 800 times. So when people talk about Fight the Power, I said we were not alone. We salute Spike Lee for help making that happen. Same thing with Nike and Air Jordan and that becoming an empire. It's because Spike Lee made it happen. Nike existed before Michael. And
yeah, I was the first player to wear the shoe for Nike. And I had to deal that in wintertime they talked about what Magic had that deal, but it was my deal that started that whole Nike run with players. I was the first player to sign with Nike, and I had a pretty good deal, but my agent couldn't figure out how to get his 10% out of the deal, so he had the power of attorney letter, so he sold my stock. And you know what the stock would be like today? My gosh.
Game, man. So what do you? And so obviously,
this was in 1973.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Obviously, you feel good about the evolution of game, the money, the business. Same thing with me. If I look at rappers that, in the beginning, we playing old arenas, traveling in vans, ending up in Des Moines, and you got to get up to go from Des Moines, catch this commercial flight, switching through Houston to get to Austin and stuff like that, to catch the 7 o'clock show and stuff like that. He
Same
never
thing with the NBA at that time, way back.
right commercial jets and stuff like that.
Commercial jet
Y'all had to fold in the seats, right?
had to
Oh my
fold into
God.
the seat, you know. But go ahead.
But
Yeah.
so I get it, the evolution of things when a cat just makes a mixtape or might not make an album at all, but they catching a private jet to a
Huh.
special function and they might give a half-ass show because they might be like kind of nodding out and shit like that.
Right.
I, I, I get that. And then the cost of the price of the gig, they probably taking home like, mid six figures,
Yeah.
whatever. I get that. That's evolution. And I'm happy to be part of the pioneering revolution. Really not the pioneering, but that little next phase when you're ramping up. I'm part of that whole thing.
Yes.
I get it. But when they try to devalue, not so much me, when you devalue my peers, you taking the road away. That's why myself and Curtis Blow and others, and this is for the power, the energy of Curtis Blow, who recently had a heart transplant.
Oh my gosh.
He helped create the Hip Hop Alliance, which is hip hop's first union,
Yes.
and it ties together with SAG-AFTRA of being the first union of hip hop workers, artists, personnel, and stuff like that. Where we work very diligently, and the results of it will only become from the totality of all the voices that demand that in this industry over the last 49 years of unofficially that grown things have to happen. This ain't an adolescent music. And we know that the business of hip hop and rap music is the business that wants to consider like, okay, y'all ain't getting none of this money. But when you speak on behalf of an artist that might have health issues, their family doesn't know exactly anything about their contracts or what's due to them, they need clarification. You have to tell because the same personnel is somewhere in the middle of the mix, way in the back. The same guys that was there or their family was there 40 years ago, somewhere there in the mix right now under another job description or ownership description. That's why we talk about owners in the NFL and the NBA. They're the same guys. They piss in the same urinals. So they have to be just like politicians. One time I went to and testified in DC, and they had this side versus that side. We was testifying for MP3 technology versus the RIAA, the major record labels. And I was talking to a man just recently deceased, Orrin Hatch, and he was one of the speakers of
Utah senator.
Yes, sir. And it was going on in the room and all, but they had adjourned for a break. And the same dude that they were arguing, they had pissing at the same stall.
That same stall.
Talking about like, yeah, well, how's Mary doing? Well, she's all right. And Chad is going to school right now, but he's got to bring his grades up. Well, we had a barbecue last week. I'll catch you later. And then they go back out in the rostrum. And Democrat and Republicans is going at each other, and we in the middle. It was like, so I'm like, everybody all in the same bowl of soup and all that. So you got to stand by your stance and just say, listen, this is the point of view. This needs help here. And we're going to knock on all heads and all doors to make some of these changes. The problem is that you got to eliminate the burnout by building a collective so where you just contribute a little bit, but it doesn't burn you and your personal time out.
Right. Speaking of Curtis Blow, remember basketball?
Of course.
All right.
He made it for you guys.
I know he did. Curtis Blow, my gosh, beautiful.
That's my man.
I wish him luck with this heart transplant because we had one of our famous Hall of Famers who recently had a heart transplant, Nate Archibald, your homeboy.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Oh yeah, this is his second year, I think, with this transplant.
Oh man!
And before he had his transplant, he was on a wait list because we didn't have health insurance. The retired players, we didn't have the health insurance that could help him get that transplant, and Earl Monroe and some of the other guys who needed hip transplants and stuff like that. So at that time, I was the chairman of the board for the NBA retired players. I went to LeBron and Steph Curry and Chris Paul and those guys and said, "Man, is it any way possible we can help us out, have a minor role in terms of the health insurance you guys have? Can we just have a little bit of what you have?" And they went into the room and stayed in for 15 minutes and came out and said, "No, you can't have a minor. You're gonna have the same health insurance that we have." Right. And they dropped $16 million a year for all of us to have this health insurance. So we are able to take care of our players and our families. It's just an awesome thing. But they never talk about those things that they have done for the retired players. They just
it's all about the marketing thing, because
it's all about the marketing. Yeah,
you got guys like Chris Paul and especially LeBron, and those two together there. They different cats, man. They cut out of the 70s and
yes, exactly.
And I say that the agents and the managers, and even I would say the commissioner, they get shaky on, not to say they're like, I'm looking from the outside in, not to say that they're opposed to it, but they're between it. They're between a United States of American audience of suppliers. Within that demographic, there's animosities. And the animosities come like, look at this Negro. This Negro ain't even on my team. Some of the animosities out there, they're ball fans, they're NBA fans that maybe through a long line. And some of these animosities are passed down. And when they see something on TV and they misconstrue it as arrogance, which could be also sometimes easy.
Well, you got to have arrogance to play.
In rap music and hip hop, I kind of see the arrogance. I kind of see somebody that looks at a video all their young life. Their father got laid off for the job in Ohio. And they have a rough time coming up, and they see somebody with a block of money thrown at a camera in a video, and they keep watching the video over and over again. And then after a while, who knows? Their girlfriend is going with the black guy and all that. Who knows how these little animosities build up without explanation? That you ain't no different. Yeah, this is what happened to this person. They got their issues too. So without this communication, they just think that these people, and they start counting their money and then be like saying, "Well, I'm mad at that." What are you mad at? That's their profession, man. So, that's one of the things that I think will happen in rap music and hip hop, because the contributors over the last 50 years, there's a serious set of issues. I recently saw how Dr. J has tried to do that for former ABA players too.
That is one of the processes that we need to get the health insurance for the ABA guys, because of the fact that these guys don't have a pension. They don't have anything. They just wiped them out off the map for all of that contribution they did for basketball. And so we were looking at a number of I think it's about 1.4 million per year if we can get these guys health insurance and a pension, a little small pension. And God, I see players dropping that kind of money at a strip club or wherever they are. Yeah, I'm like, wow.
My thing is like this. It's like when a real situation comes up and you can't do nothing about, or nobody wants to do anything about it, then I don't want to read the sports pages, right? And read about somebody's $68 million per year contract. Me, I want to read, did my team win? What are we doing? Players was the coach. I don't want to read money I ain't making. Let them let them have their money. But I think the sports writers had so much animosity. Even like back in your day, I think the sports writers had so much animosity on the money that you reported to make. They just kept saying more than Spencer Haywood's points, rebounds, what he means to his team and spirit. We don't even talk about his money.
Money.
America, we're going to talk about these players' money. What does somebody else's money got to do with the damn game? Now I know people get into like, well, now people are like, oh, well, I don't know if they're going over the cap and the luxury tax and all that.
Right.
All that bullshit for real. I mean, it means nothing to me, man. That's their money.
That's their money. It's their money. And I fought hard for them to get that money. Going all the way to the Supreme Court so that they can get that money.
The only money that's important to me is the money I spend on watching the game, jersey, support, subscriptions. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Somebody else's money, when they keep putting it out there, I'm telling you, when you see a black man, when they keep talking about the money, it builds animosity in the United States of America.
Wow.
It builds animosity. The nerve of this Negro making this money when I don't work all my life. You don't say that about that doctor that's saving your life. You don't care what that doctor
money.
You don't
I play golf with them.
Excuse me?
I said I play golf with them. And they telling me how much money they are making on surgeries and all of, like their particular expertise as a medical expert. Yeah.
So that's to me, that all that plays into the United States of America, the mental illness, the building of animosities, the lack of proper communication, the lack of perspective, the lack of saying, well, this person's a great person. Oh yeah, but I heard that they effed their money up and they had a drug problem, or they had, they had a mistake that, they hit something on the road and a person accidentally got, it's like, so that's the narrative of the whole story.
That's the narrative, yeah.
So you would take all the good stories, toss them to the side, and give me this one thing because you can roll and sell it.
Yeah. Well, no, I was recently at a concert with Babyface, and I just watching them perform. So I had people coming up to me with they had their beer and they had their alcohol, and they were looking at me and saying, are you all right, son? Are you all right? And I was like, what are you talking about? Am I all right? They're looking at me. and he says, well, I just watched your scene in Wintertime. I said, this was 42 years ago.
I know.
It's so weird. I was sitting there. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
Big up to Wood Harris.
And you
man.
Drunk and you're telling me, am I all right? I was like, whoa. But I understand. I did not go off.
Big up to Wood Harris. Big up to Wood Harris.
Big up to Wood Harris, man. Man, that guy is probably going to win some awards. He was Spencer.
Yeah, you know what? I know Adam Silver was shaking. Well, we definitely can't call it the Spencer Haywood Rule now. The hardest thing in any structure is to name something after a black person.
It's hard, isn't it? Now, I have the only Supreme Court rule that is not named after me. Like Roe versus Wade, Brown versus the Board of Education. You go through all of the rules, but when it gets to Haywood versus the NBA, don't say anything about it. No.
I'm gonna tell you another thing that I've known in my years that the United. Remember, I ain't gonna say Americans. The hardest thing for USAers to get by, and this is cross-generational, and hopefully we get to that plateau. It's very difficult for a USAer to sit and get instruction and learn from a black voice and black person directly without no middle person in between. There seems to just be this oil and water thing going on where sometimes, I'll go to somebody and say, when the last time, to friends of mine, when the last time you sat your ass down and just listened to a black person teach you something? I don't forget internet, what book you read. Sit your ass down. Cause I'll tell my mother and father, right? my so-called smart ass self, right? had the nerve to be trying to talk to my mom. I'm like, well, I heard that in 1948 Harlem, in 1952 Harlem, that this happened and all that. And then they look at you like, yeah, some of that is true, but this is what happened, and this is the truth on that. Yeah. Not the person I read who was that one person that wrote it based on. No, this is what happened. We got that as in every trick and trade in the United States of America going forward into the third decade of the 21st century. It's very, very important that we stay at the steering wheel of the narrative. You know, like Isaiah Thomas always says, we got to be at the steering wheel, because when the transitioning of elders happened, that story gone, man.
It's gone.
And you can't trust the digital age. You know why? Because the digital age, it could be like 3-card money in New York. Man, it's like, now you see it, now you don't. Try to find it.
Now you don't.
Going under the clam. There it is, baby. And meanwhile, you up there looking at you all naive, looking at the clams, and somebody pickpocketing you, and then you like that one, and they pick up the clam, and ain't nothing underneath it, right? Yeah. And everybody looking, oh, that is digital information. 3-card money on, okay, yeah, you watching this, or you reading the headline, social media is going to teach you about yourself. Boom, under the clam. No, you don't see it. I was there a second ago. I just read it. Nope, they took it down and removed it.
Yeah, removed it.
So,
hey,
yeah.
Let's wrap it up. But let's talk a little bit about basketball.
Yeah.
And
I'll talk a little bit that I know.
Okay, you know a lot about basketball. I see you on TNT.
But that's inadvertently as a fan. Do you know me as a person? Every time I used to see somebody not from the game talk about the game on TV, I'd be like, get you off the game. You ain't played no ball. What are you talking for? Every time I get on and they ask me a sports question, I'm like, I don't need to be, I'm just in the fan seat. I don't need to be talking. There's so many people in this game that need to be talking. Yeah, but Chuck, you know, and all that, you pay homage and all that. I just like to be a contributor and a fan. But when I'm asked, and I'm asked such by honorable people I've been a fan of, then I do my best to give an answer that won't just sound so fanatical.
Okay. So with the upcoming playoffs, you have the Celtics and the Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Break it down, in your opinion, what's going to happen in that series. And let's just take the first game and see what will happen. I know you might, the Celtics, we Knicks, you know how that is. We have
I'm a Knick fan. I don't like 29 teams. I don't like none of them teams, but I pick surrogate. As a Knick fan, you learn to pick, surrogate teams.
Right.
And then you feel for the players, and then you feel for the betterment of people who have contributed to the game and people who are coming into the game, and you want the integrity of the game to be upheld. I like Ime Udoka. Yo, man, that brother turned it around. I don't know. We got to give salute to Nia Long, because whatever. Him, Nia Long is his wife, his lady. If that's helped, I think, the less drama you got there, that's probably helped him and helped the court, helped the team. And then they realized their backs up against the wall, and that team got together, man.
They got together.
And they got together. You know what? Let's pull in, pull in some familiar heads. Bring Al Horford back. Have maybe Al Horford is in the conversation and looking at Tatum and Brown as like, look, cats, you guys are the leaders. Marcus Smart, that energy. Those four dudes.
And you got Williams now.
They got Williams and the guys that's contributed, but those four dudes, and then you still got like Brad Stevens in the back as the GM.
Yes.
Probably not, doing the heavy lifting. I think the familiarity is one of these things where the NBA has moved people around so much that where do you find a familiar core of 4 to 5 people that say we were here before and close, now we regrouped and we gonna snatch this thing. So I think that 4 core, and then you got the life of Riley. And
Well, Pat and I go back to the old days, but the life of Riley and with the Knicks. Yeah.
To me, I always thought, other than while growing up with Red Holzman, I thought Pat Riley was the greatest thing that ever happened in the New York Knicks as far as coaching, in the modern era. A lot of New York Knicks hated that. I said, you hate it because you loved him so much when he was here. They gave 1,000%. Every single one of them Knicks ball players was cut. Now, I'm just saying, I don't know if that makes him a better ball player or not, but whenever you see a ball player on the court and they ain't cut and they're an athlete at 22, I'm like, and Pat Riley ain't allowing nobody to get on that Miami Heat uniform uncut and out of shape. So when you look at a guy like Jimmy Butler, they just look like they got more stamina. They just they look like they could do the 13th, 14th, and 15th round of a boxing. They don't even do that in boxing no more. I don't know why, but back in the day, short tangent for a second, when you watch the heavyweight fight and round 13, 14, and 15 was coming up, that's what made super champions. Like, that's why Muhammad Ali, you could never sleep on him. I don't even know if you was there, Muhammad Ali and Ernie Shavers. Were you at that fight?
Woo. Boy, that was a great one.
So I'm saying, an analogy, that 13th, 14th, 15th round is like NBA playoffs when it gets down to the last bit. And Spoelstra and Pat Riley's thing, and I'm not even talking about the players. I'm saying the players.
Well, that Jimmy Butler.
That's what I'm saying. Jimmy Butler, he looked like he could play 2 more years on top of this.
Who sang the song? It came up hard. That was Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
exactly. Jimmy Butler. Well, I mean, he could play 2 more years after this game in a row.
In a row.
In a row, like he could keep on playing because they look like not only are they hungry, but their regimen is just different from any other NBA team. And I think they came in prepared for this 82 game season, where I think a lot of people forgot that this 82 is going to seem very different because it's going to seem long as hell.
Long.
And y'all had to play like 15, 20 years of 82 game seasons in a row and didn't believe in days off.
Days off. No rest. But that Jimmy Butler, he came up through Tyler Junior College in Texas, and then on to Marquette, and he had to fight his way through. He's tough. He is a tough player. And so is that Bam Adebayo. I mean,
they look like
Kyle Lowry.
Hey,
Kyle Lowry.
Every time I look at Jimmy Butler, it look like he got a piece of meat in his mouth, and you good luck with trying to snatch it out of his mouth.
Don't snatch it out of his mouth.
and then in the West, I was a big fan rooting for Chris Paul to get it.
Yeah. I was so was I.
But to me as a fan, whenever things come down to a game 7 and they're all professionals, anything can happen. I'm not, and I think as fans, and this is important, as fans, I think people get carried away with trying to judge players. And I just think these professional athletes are so far at the top of their field that I think that a lot of them, everybody has the same unbelievable talent. So sometimes you come down to one game, anything can happen, and anybody could kick your ass. Everybody, there ain't no players that suck. I don't believe. In fact, there ain't no player that suck in the G League. I think the G League. Now, here's my theory on this. I think the G League is a better investment for a team than the NCAAs right now.
Oh, it is a much better investment because you get a chance to work that product, get that product ready. And I'm not saying as a product as a player, but a human, but that product is prepared. And you can also take a player that is having a struggle in the NBA and say, why don't I take you down to the G League for a while and let you get your C legs back and come back up? Oh, it's a serious investment.
because I think, all right, the draft is happening today. So now you got to look at 18 to 21-year-old young players.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like saying who only played against young players in AAU ball a couple years ago,
Right.
versus somebody who's 25. They already might have been like a top draft pick, but didn't stick on a team.
Right.
How is that player over at 25? I don't get it. I mean, how is that player over and done at 25? And you going, we don't have, look, I tell people all the time, there ain't a Spencer Haywood in the draft coming out. There ain't a LeBron James coming out. There ain't a Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming out. So meaning that everybody's got this level of talent, but I don't understand. This is the thing I don't understand. I don't understand how a player can't get better from 21 to 25, but you think that player from 19 to 21 is all that you can bet on. I don't get that. I don't get that. And music, of course, people think it's like, oh yeah, the new artist is always going to be better. I'm like, fucking hell no. Even though I think that artist ain't gonna find himself till they 35.
Right.
So, they ain't gonna be part of popular music. They ain't gonna make people. I mean, that's a different thing, man. Musician, you get better, but art and commerce are two different things. So I talk to artists. I don't talk commerce. Basketball and athletics, I don't get this thing where a 27-year-old is considered too old.
Too old.
I don't get that. I don't get that, man.
Could be the salary caps and the way that they look at a young player coming in. You have a rookie salary as opposed to a guy that's 25, 26. He has a guaranteed amount. So the business of basketball might just say, well, he's over and done. Let me bring up the young guy because I'm paying him like a third or a lot less. Yeah.
I get that from a structure thing as a fan thing.
Yeah.
This is probably why, I haven't seen my team win. And you ain't got nothing to do with it, but I haven't seen my team win a championship since I was 13, and now I'm 62. So, but I still love my team, and I love everybody contribute to the team. Here's a question I always wanted to ask you. I was happy when Spencer Haywood was a New York Knick, and I thought we could have built around that, but I think the Knicks overdid it, where I'm a big Bob McAdoo fan, but big fan like you over there and be over there, because we want to compete against that as a fan. I just think they loaded too much, and I saw the Knicks make the same mistake 30 years later. I make the same comparison. We were good with Amari Stoudemire, and then we got Carmelo. So now you got two stars where we were good with Stoudemire. We were good with Spencer Haywood.
Yeah.
McAdoo's the king, but yeah, cool. But we good with Haywood. We can't have two sons at the same time.
At the same time.
We were good with Stoudemire, and then we got Carmelo. No knock on Carmelo, but to me, Carmelo is a Hall of Famer, just like McAdoo. But I just thought that and then we had fun looking. I used to be a fan on the outside to keep Buffalo in the conversation. I thought that broke up the whole franchise in Buffalo. The league did a disjustice to
Buffalo.
They
did a bad choice on that one. Because we had we had Lonnie Shelton, myself, and Bob McAdoo. We all playing the same position. So that was kind of weird. But okay, let's go back to your pick with the West. Dallas or the Warriors?
Phoenix. It'd be interesting to watch. And to me, I was only winning for Phoenix because of my man Eddie Johnson. You wanted to see him get a chip, Eddie Johnson and Justin Terminator announcer on NBA Sirius Radio. And
yeah.
I was rooting for them and also Chris Paul. But I got no sympathy for the Warriors. They full, belly full.
They belly full, but they're hungry.
They hungry. And Dallas, as much as I'm like, but they got a lot of ex-Knicks. Maybe I'm winning for Reggie Bullock and Frank Ntilikina, who were Knicks last year. And so I'm rooting for them. And then Luka is nasty. He's just nasty. It's like he's just nasty, man. It's like you gotta, and I know you played and saw all that same type of energy during Larry Bird era.
Yeah,
and
sure.
The average person looking at Larry Bird like, well, he's slow. He can't jump. What is going on? That's the same thing that today.
Same principle there with Luka. But I tell you, man, this guy is a serious baller. I mean, I love his game. I don't know. My picks would be I want to see Boston and Dallas in the playoff because I want to see new blood. I want to see a new look of the NBA. So I'll leave it at that.
It hurts me as a Knick fan to say any of these teams. I got my Knick Fan TV thing on.
Yes.
And I'm going to say that if anybody comes out and does this, Boston. I want Boston to take it.
Yeah.
It's killing me. Especially since we beat Boston in the first game of a long-ass season. And everybody was talking about
and everybody said, the Knicks are back. We're going to win it all.
We're doing 50 games and all that. But but you know what? Udoka as the coach, I want to see him get it.
Yeah.
I want to see him. Out of everybody, I'm going to go for because he was getting a lot of heat, man. And I like that perseverance.
He got a lot of heat in mid-season. Yeah. Not Miami Heat, but he was getting heat. All right, bro. I thank you so much for this great day, taking this, your time out to spend it with me. I just love you.
You didn't say. You got that call. We like, Chuck, get your ass on my podcast.
Your ass over here.
This is a Spencer Haywood Rule, nephew.
Yeah, bro. Come on, get in here. I thank you so much, bro. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your conversation. Thank you for being a friend. And I love you. Thank you.
Thank you for being a hero. Friend, I always salute you. People could go to rstvapp.com and pull down the Rap Station app. That's where we go and curate the art form. And, and there's always great things that we salute you on, special songs, videos, and stuff like that. It was an honor to do your voiceover years ago in your documentary. And anytime you need me, just holler. Okay.
What about your book? Where can you pick up your book on hip hop?
I think they go to Amazon. I got 4 or 5 books out. Just look up Chuck D and book, and either gonna be Chuck D or Charles Schumer.
Okay. All right, bro.
Change the world, change the game, never ever the same. This is a change. Change the world, change the game, never ever the same. This is a change.
Produced by Heartcast Media.